Let me ask you something. Have you ever felt that tug at your heart late at night when everything is quiet and suddenly something inside you whispers, there's someone meant for me out there? Yeah, that feeling, that's not random. That's not fantasy. That is divine. Because when God wants to get your attention, He doesn't always shout. Sometimes He whispers through moments, through people, through silence, through signs. And if you ain't listening, really listening, you just might miss the message. When we talk about soulmates, most people think about romance, chemistry, shared laughs, and long walks into the sunset. But the truth is, God's view of a soulmate runs far deeper than feelings or fleeting passion. It's not just about finding someone who completes your sentences or shares your playlist. It's about someone who complements your purpose, strengthens your walk, and aligns with your spiritual destiny. And before God ever reveals that kind of person to you, He prepares you, sometimes in ways you didn't ask for and through seasons you didn't expect. Preparation isn't glamorous. It's often quiet, lonely, and uncomfortable. It's the season where God strips away distractions, unhealthy attachments, and false identities you've built around relationships. Because if you're still carrying wounds that you haven't allowed to heal, those same wounds will bleed into your future love. God knows that. That's why He holds back the blessing until the vessel is ready to receive it. You're not being punished. You're being refined. He prepares you through pruning. You start to lose connections you thought were permanent. Friendships fade. Opportunities dry up. Maybe you go through heartbreak, betrayal, or rejection. And in the moment, it doesn't make sense. But hindsight will show you it was God cutting off what couldn't go with you. You see, a soulmate relationship is sacred. It's not built on temporary comfort. It's built on eternal assignment. And you can't step into that kind of love while dragging the weight of the past behind you. Preparation often looks like isolation, not to punish you, but to focus you. God starts working on your identity, who you really are when no one's watching. He wants you to know your worth before someone else tries to define it for you. If you don't know who you are alone, you'll lose yourself when you're with someone else. That's why God will take His time building your foundation, brick by brick, truth by truth. And part of that process is learning how to be whole before trying to merge with another person. Some people think they're ready for love just because they're tired of being single. But being tired is not the same as being prepared. God isn't on your timeline. He's not rushing to fulfill your emotional calendar. He's working with eternity in mind. He sees what's ahead. He knows what your future requires. And sometimes that means He'll delay what you desire so He can protect what you need. God's. You don't want a soulmate who shows up while you're still in pieces. You want a soulmate who meets you while you're walking in purpose, not stumbling through brokenness. That preparation also involves breaking cycles. If your past relationships have been filled with dysfunction, codependency, or compromise, God will confront those patterns before bringing you someone healthy. Because you can't hold on to toxic habits and expect a holy connection. That's like pouring fresh water into a dirty cup. The water may be clean, but the vessel contaminates it. So God starts doing inner work, healing your mindset, restoring your self-worth, teaching you boundaries, and reshaping your expectations. And while He's preparing you, He's also preparing your soulmates. It's not just about you being ready. It's about both of you being refined in separate seasons so you can thrive in unity. Think about that. While you're learning how to pray through pain, they might be learning how to lead with grace. While you're letting go of pride, they could be letting go of fear. You may not see it, but the preparation is mutual. That's why patience matters. You're not just waiting, you're becoming. And becoming takes time. God doesn't rush masterpieces. He shapes them slowly, deliberately, and with purpose. That frustration you feel when things seem delayed, that's the tension of transformation. It's the process of being molded into someone who can carry the weight of real love, not just the thrill of attraction. Because anyone can love you in your comfort, but the one God sends, They'll love you through your calling. That requires maturity. And maturity is only birthed through preparation. Sometimes the preparation comes through trials that don't even seem connected to love. It's a financial struggle, a career setback, a health challenge, but all of it ties back into who you're becoming. God uses every situation to shape your character, your patience, your humility, your discipline. Why? Because relationships aren't just emotional. They're spiritual and practical. And your soulmate won't just need your love. They'll need your strength. They'll need your faith. They'll need your consistency. Preparation builds those things in the dark before they're revealed in the light. There are also seasons where God exposes your idols. He shows you where you've placed love above Him, where you've made finding someone more important than knowing Him. And in those moments, it can feel like He's withholding what your heart desires. But in reality, He's trying to redirect your heart back to Him. Because He knows that any relationship that starts without Him at the center is already off balance. So He calls you to intimacy with Him first, to let Him be your first love, so that any love that comes after will flow from that foundation. And let's not forget obedience. Sometimes preparation is simply learning how to follow God's lead, even when it doesn't make sense. He'll ask you to let go of someone who feels good, but isn't aligned. He'll nudge you to wait when everything in you wants to rush. He'll tell you not yet, when your emotions are screaming right now. And it's in those moments of obedience that your spirit grows. You start to trust God's plan over your feelings. You start to value His timing over your preferences. And that's when you know the preparation is working. Your soulmate is not just someone who makes your heart skip a beat or gives you butterflies. That might sound romantic, but real love, divine love, isn't built on emotional highs. It's built on purpose. It's rooted in callings. It's not just about how someone makes you feel. It's about how they walk with you in alignment with what God created you to do. Your soulmate is someone whose presence pushes you closer to your assignment, not distracts you from it. When God joins two people, He does it for more than companionship. He does it for impact. Too many people chase compatibility based on surface-level traits, shared interests, personality types, physical attraction, and lifestyle preferences. While those things matter, they don't sustain a relationship rooted in divine design. Because when life hits hard, when purpose demands sacrifice, and when calling requires faith, you need more than chemistry. You need covenant. You need someone who doesn't just understand your journey, but is called to walk it with you. That's why the person God has for you will not only love you, they'll understand the weight of your calling. They won't run from it. They won't shrink in the presence of it. They'll honor it. They'll nurture it. They'll be a witness to your growth and a protector of your purpose. When you feel weak, they'll remind you of your strength. When you feel like giving up, they'll speak life back into your spirit. This is deeper than romance. This is ministry. This is alignment. And alignment is what separates divine connection from emotional attachment. Purpose-driven relationships require you to know what your calling is. If you don't know why you were created, you'll link up with people who look good but are not good for the road ahead. God doesn't pair souls just to keep each other company. He pairs souls to advance the kingdom. He places people in your life who will sharpen your vision, not dull it. The person meant for you is not just your lover. They're your partner in purpose. Your mission isn't separate from your relationship. Your relationship is part of the mission. That's why timing matters. Sometimes you're not being kept from love. You're being prepared for alignment. God doesn't want you to find someone who simply loves the idea of you. He wants someone who loves the assignment on your life. That means before you meet them, you've got to walk in your identity. You've got to know your worth, own your gifts, and embrace your calling. Because your soulmate isn't coming to complete you. They're coming to run with you. They're running toward the same destiny, not dragging you away from it. You may have already met people who love parts of you. They loved your smile, your presence, your energy. But when it came to the weight of your purpose, they couldn't carry it. They couldn't see it. And that's okay, because they weren't meant to. The one who is meant to walk with you won't be intimidated by your light. They won't feel small in your purpose. They'll feel called to help you protect it. That's how you know the difference. Temporary people are drawn to your personality. Purposeful people are drawn to your destiny. Sometimes your soulmate shows up in a form you weren't expecting. Not your type. Not the script you wrote in your head. But spiritually you feel it. They speak to a part of you that's deeper than attraction. They pull something sacred out of you. They speak to the assignment in you. And when they talk, your spirit agrees. That agreement isn't about fantasy. It's about faith. It's a confirmation that says, this person is aligned with where I'm going. And you know it's real because it brings peace. Not just excitement. Peace. Your soulmate won't just match your dreams. They'll challenge your growth. They'll hold you accountable to what God said about you. They won't let you settle in comfort zones or abandon the vision when things get hard. Because they're not here to just enjoy life with you. They're here to build life with you. The kind of life that echoes into eternity. That's why you can't attach yourself to someone based only on emotion. Emotions fade, seasons change, but purpose sustains. Purpose roots the relationship when storms try to shake it. When you're with the right person, they won't try to change your calling to make themselves feel secure. They'll adapt their life around the flow of your purpose, and you'll do the same. It's not about dominance. It's about divine partnership. It's about becoming a unit that serves something greater than either of you could serve alone. That kind of union glorifies God. It reflects His heart. And it blesses not just the two of you, but everyone around you. Because your love becomes a testimony, not just a connection. God won't send someone who distracts you from Him. He won't send someone who pulls you out of alignment. He sends someone who draws you closer to Him. Because the two of you were always meant to serve side by side. When He created you, He already knew who He was creating to walk with you. That means your soulmate is someone who complements your calling, not just your comfort. There will be moments when your calling demands sacrifice. Late nights, early mornings, seasons of discipline, God's. And the right person will understand that because they'll be living with the same intensity for their calling too. You won't have to explain the fire in you. They'll have their own. You won't have to downplay your ambition. They'll match it. And when the world doesn't understand you, your soulmate will. Because they were formed in a similar fire, built for a similar path. This is why prayer is critical when it comes to relationships. Without prayer, you'll chase preference instead of purpose. You'll look for what feels good instead of what is aligned. But when you pray, God reveals what your heart couldn't see. He'll show you who's meant to walk with you and who's only meant to pass by. He'll remove the counterfeit before the covenant arrives. He'll expose what's not aligned so you don't waste time investing in dead soil. So many people are asking God for love without asking Him about purpose. But love without purpose becomes distraction. It becomes a detour. And the enemy would love nothing more than to use love to pull you out of alignment. That's why discernment matters. Not everyone who loves you is aligned with you. And not everyone who shows up is sent by God. Some connections are designed to look right on the surface while slowly pulling you off course underneath. But God is faithful. He's not just writing your love story. He's writing your purpose story. And those two are intertwined. When you truly understand that, your standards shift. You stop chasing the superficial. You stop settling for potential. You start looking for purpose alignment. You start listening to how they pray, how they serve, how they treat people when no one's watching. You look beyond what your eyes can see and tune into what your spirit is saying. Because your soulmate isn't just someone who sees you, they see God's plan in you and they honor it. When God wants to speak to you, He doesn't always do it through thunder or burning bushes. More often, he chooses the quiet places, the slow moments, the ordinary days. That's how he reveals the hidden things. And when it comes to your soulmate, he rarely makes it obvious. He doesn't write names in the sky or send a booming voice from heaven. Instead, he moves through timing, through growth, and through silence. That's where the hidden messages are found. And unless your spirit is tuned in, you'll miss the very thing you've been praying for. God speaks in layers. He's not in a rush to impress you. He's in the business of transforming you. So when he begins to unfold the story of your soulmate, he starts with of you. He begins by stirring questions in your heart, softening areas you didn't even know were hard. He draws your attention to patterns in your life. Why do you keep choosing the same kind of person? Why do certain relationships always lead to the same kind of pain? Those aren't just thoughts, they're invitations. Invitations to look deeper, to see that maybe, just maybe, God is speaking. There are hidden messages in your discomfort. When someone comes into your life and it feels off, not because they're bad, but because they don't fit the call on your life, that's not coincidence. That's God saying, this one isn't aligned. You may feel torn. You may feel lonely, but loneliness with God is better than connection without Him. Sometimes God uses the silence of unanswered prayers to prepare you for the clarity of answered ones. And that silence isn't rejection. It's preparation. It's the soil where discernment grows. There are hidden messages in divine delays. You may think the waiting is pointless, but what if the waiting is the answer? What if God is using time to mature you, to heal you, to refine your vision? You might be ready emotionally, but not spiritually. You may desire companionship, but are you walking in wholeness? God doesn't rush purpose, and He won't allow you to enter a relationship that will compromise what He's building in you. The delay is not about punishment. It's about alignment. He wants you in sync with His timing, not just your feelings. Sometimes God uses closed doors as hidden messages. The person you thought was the one walks away. The connection fades. You try to hold on, but it slips through your fingers. And all you're left with is confusion and questions. But in those closed doors, there's wisdom. God is saying, this isn't it. I have more. I see what you can't. And though it hurts in the moment, later you realize what you were being protected from. You realize the breakup was a blessing disguised as heartbreak. Because not every good connection is a God connection. There are also messages in your growth. The more you align with your calling, the more your desires change. What used to attract you no longer satisfies you. What you used to chase now looks empty. That shift, that's a message. God is reshaping your heart to want what He wants for you. He's aligning your taste with His will. Because you can't walk in divine partnership if you're still chasing what your old self desired. The old you wanted chemistry. The new you seeks calling. The old you wanted someone to fill a void. The new you want someone to build with. The hidden messages from God also come through peace. Not the kind of peace the world gives, but the deep, unshakable peace that settles in your spirit. When you meet someone and everything in your soul says, this is right, even when it doesn't make logical sense, that's God's whisper. You might still have questions. You might still have doubts, but your spirit rests. That's not coincidence. That's divine confirmation. And it's different from hype. It's quiet, steady, holy. God's messages don't come to impress. They come to align. On the flip side, confusion is also a message. If someone brings chaos, inconsistency, or spiritual unease into your life, God is speaking through that too. Don't ignore it. That tension is a signal. It's not always the devil trying to steal your joy. Sometimes it's God trying to get your attention. He's saying, this isn't where I'm leading you. But if you only listen to your emotions and not your discernment, you'll miss the message. You'll hold on to something that God's trying to release you from. Sometimes the message is hidden in someone else's journey. God will show you what alignment looks like by putting you around couples who carry what you desire. You see the way they love, the way they pray, the way they serve. And something in you says, that's the kind of relationship I want. That impression is a message. It's not about comparison. It's about vision. God is showing you what's possible when two people are aligned with Him. He's saying, I can do this for you too, but I need you to trust me with the process. Even the people who walk in and out of your life carry messages. Some are there to teach you what love is not. Others come to mirror your unhealed places. Each interaction has a message attached to it. The key is whether or not you're paying attention. Are you asking God what the encounter was meant to teach you? Are you letting Him interpret your relationships? Or are you rushing ahead, trying to write your own story without consulting the author? Dreams, impressions, unexpected thoughts, those two can carry messages. God still speaks through the unexplainable. You may wake up with a name in your spirit. You may feel drawn to pray for someone unexpectedly. That still small nudge isn't random. It's God whispering. And the more you listen, the louder His voice becomes, not because He's shouting, but because your spirit becomes tuned in to hear Him more clearly. There are also messages in rest, in stillness. When you stop chasing, striving, overthinking, and you just sit with God in those quiet spaces, He deposits truth. He gives you glimpses. He shows you who you're becoming and who will fit into that becoming. He aligns your vision with His. He reveals your blind spots, exposes your fears, and reminds you of promises you forgot. And all of it is preparation for what's coming. Every stage of the journey, every conversation, every delay, every answered and unanswered prayer is laced with messages. But they're not always loud. They're not always wrapped in clarity. That's why you need spiritual eyes to see and ears to hear. You have to lean into prayer, into silence, into obedience. Because when God is speaking about your soulmate, He's not just pointing to someone else. He's pointing to something in you. Something He's building, restoring, healing, preparing. God's. Something that must be cultivated before you can recognize what's meant for you. Your soulmate will often enter your life when you least expect them, but exactly when God has prepared you to receive them. This isn't about random timing or chance encounters. This is about divine orchestration, the kind only God can design with such precision that it humbles you when you realize it. You may think you're just going about your life, doing ordinary things, but in the unseen realm, something sacred is being aligned. God doesn't operate on your calendar. He operates on your character. And when your heart posture is right, when your spirit is aligned, that's when the door opens. Not because you chased it, but because you were ready for it. Timing is one of the most misunderstood parts of relationships. People want things quickly. They want confirmation now, fulfillment now, love now. But what they don't realize is that love without timing can be a burden instead of a blessing. You might meet the right person in the wrong season, and everything feels off. Not because the person is wrong, but because you're not yet whole. You're still healing, still learning, still finding your identity. And if God allowed it too soon, you might idolize them, lose yourself in them, or sabotage the very thing you prayed for. That's why He waits. That's why He delays. Not to withhold love, but to prepare you to receive it maturely, with wisdom and with discernment. There's a difference between desire and readiness. You can desire love and still be emotionally unavailable. You can long for a soulmate and still carry wounds from your past that distort your vision. You can ask for companionship but still resist vulnerability, and God sees all of it. That's why He works on your heart first. He'll allow seasons of solitude not to punish you, but to purify you. To detox your soul from counterfeit love. To teach you how to enjoy your own company. To build your confidence in who you are, God's. So you don't settle for someone who only wants the surface version of you. You can't attract what's aligned if you're still walking in your unhealed patterns. God's timing is also about protecting your purpose. You may have dreams to pursue, callings to answer, places to go that require your full attention before partnership enters the picture. Some assignments are too delicate to be shared prematurely. Some seasons require you to be singular and focused. If God added another person to your life too soon, It might distract you from developing the very thing that's supposed to be the foundation of your future together. That business, that book, that ministry, that healing journey, it needs your undivided investment. So when it feels like nothing's happening romantically, it might be because everything is happening spiritually. Sometimes God uses separation as preparation. You may feel distant from love. That's disconnected from romance, like everyone else is finding their person while you're stuck waiting. But in that waiting, He's maturing your vision. He's training your heart to recognize depth, not just attraction. He's teaching you to hear His voice above your emotions. Because when the one He sends finally arrives, you won't be caught off guard. You'll recognize them not by their looks alone, but by the peace they carry, the spiritual weight they bring, the way your purpose and theirs seem to speak the same language. God will also allow failed relationships to refine your expectations, not to break you down, but to reveal what you actually need. On God's, you may think your type is based on preference, but often it's rooted in past pain. God has to expose those patterns and rewire your expectations so that you stop choosing what looks right and start choosing what feels aligned. That shift happens when you're finally ready, when you stop negotiating your value, when you stop compromising your standards just to feel love, when you stop entertaining people who don't honor your growth. That's when the timing becomes sacred, because you've become someone who can steward love, not just receive it. When God prepares you for your soulmate, He does it through trials, through stretching, through seasons where you question everything. You'll be tested in patience, in trust, in identity. Not because He's cruel, but because He's equipping you. He knows what kind of love you're asking for. A love that's deep. A love that's rooted in Him. A love that can weather storms, not just celebrate sunny days. That kind of love requires strength. It requires two whole people, not two broken ones trying to fix each other. So He strengthens you quietly, privately, thoroughly. Timing also teaches you gratitude. If love arrived the moment you asked for it, you might never appreciate it. But when you've waited, when you've cried, when you've surrendered the timeline, you don't take it for granted. You treasure it, you nurture it, you protect it, because you understand what it cost you to wait. And that reverence creates space for growth, for trust, for intimacy that isn't built on desperation, but on spiritual alignment. And that's what makes it last. Not just the excitement of finding someone, but the maturity to build something with them day after day. When your soulmate finally shows up, you'll realize that the timing wasn't random. You'll see how every detour, every delay, every closed door had a purpose. You'll remember the moments you almost gave up, and you'll thank God you didn't. You'll understand that the process wasn't about punishing you. It was about positioning you, because the love that's meant for you can't miss you. It may be delayed, but will never be denied. And when it comes, it will come with peace, with clarity, with a quiet assurance that this is the right time and this is the right person. God's timing also includes the timing of revelation. You might meet someone and not even realize they're the one until months later. That's because God doesn't always reveal everything at once. He unveils it layer by layer. As you grow in relationship, as you pray, as you listen. Some people are placed in your life as seeds. They look ordinary at first, but over time, the fruit begins to show. And as it does, your spirit starts to recognize what your eyes couldn't see at first. That's the beauty of divine timing. It doesn't rush, it unfolds. You don't have to manipulate timing. You don't have to chase people, force connections, or settle for less because you're tired of waiting. God's timing will never make you beg for what's meant for you. It won't confuse you, rush you, or compromise you. It will come gently, consistently, in a way that honors your peace and aligns with your purpose. It might not come how you thought it would. It might not look like the movies, but it will be real. And it will be worth every moment you waited with faith instead of fear. When you're seeking your soulmate, God's, it's easy to focus on the external. You start making lists, what they should look like, how they should talk, how they should treat you. And while standards matter, what's more important is what's happening inside of you. God cares more about your preparation than your preference. He cares about your heart posture, your maturity, your spiritual health, because you attract what you are aligned with, not just what you desire. And if you're not healed, if you're not growing, if you're not rooted in Him, then even a divine connection can slip through your fingers because you're not prepared to receive it the right way. Preparation is a spiritual principle. You don't step into anything great without being shaped for it first. Before David became king, he was in the field, learning how to lead sheep. Before Esther saved a nation, she was in the palace, being trained in wisdom and discernment. Before Joseph wore the robe of influence, he was tested in the pit, in the prison, in the pain. That pattern hasn't changed. If you're praying for a soulmate, expect preparation. Expect to be stretched, refined, challenged, purified. Not because God is withholding love, but because He's strengthening your capacity to hold it when it comes. Preparation starts with identity. If you don't know who you are, you'll look for someone else to define you. And that's dangerous. Because when you make someone your identity, you give them too much power over your joy, your peace, your self-worth. God wants you to be grounded in who He says you are. Loved, chosen whole, complete in Him. Not because you're perfect, but because you're rooted. So when someone comes into your life, you don't lose yourself in them. You don't shrink to make them comfortable. You don't compromise just to feel loved. You stand in who you are and invite them to walk alongside you, not above you or beneath you. God also prepares you by exposing your wounds. You can't build a healthy relationship on a foundation of unhealed trauma. If you're still carrying abandonment, rejection, betrayal, insecurity, those things will leak into your connection. You'll misinterpret love. You'll sabotage vulnerability. You'll expect people to fix what only God can heal. So He brings those wounds to the surface, not to shame you, God's, but to free you. He'll send people who trigger your brokenness, so you can see where the healing still needs to happen. He'll use solitude to show you how much you've been depending on attention or affection for validation. And in that process, He'll teach you to come to Him first. Not your soulmate, not a relationship, Him. Preparation also requires pruning. God will strip away habits, friendships, mindsets that don't align with the kind of love He's preparing you for. You might feel like you're losing everything, but you're really gaining clarity. The more He prunes you, the more room He creates for what's real. He'll pull you away from people who drain you. He'll close doors that feed your ego but starve your spirits. He'll interrupt cycles that keep you distracted because He knows what's coming. He knows what kind of person He's sending. And He refuses to let you walk into that blessing, still carrying the dead weight of your past. You also have to prepare your capacity to love selflessly. Soulmate love isn't just about how they make you feel. It's about how you serve each other. Can you love them when they're not at their best? Can you communicate without attacking? Can you hold space for their growth without making their journey about your insecurities? That kind of love requires emotional maturity. It requires humility, patience, grace. God will test that in your current relationships, friends, family, co-workers. Because how you treat the people around you reveals how prepared you are to steward a soulmate. If you're short-tempered, easily offended, or unable to listen with empathy, He'll work on that before releasing you into partnership. Not as punishment, but as preparation. God also sharpens your discernment in this season. Not everyone who comes into your life is sent by Him. Some people are distractions dressed as destiny. They say the right things, but they don't carry the right spirit. If you're not discerning, you'll fall for chemistry and misalignment. You'll chase butterflies and miss the blueprint. So God trains your ears to hear His voice, even above your emotions. He teaches you how to recognize peace, not just passion. He shows you what alignment feels like. So when the counterfeit shows up, you won't be fooled. That level of discernment comes through intimacy with Him, through prayer, through obedience, through spending time in His presence. even when you don't feel like it. Preparation also means being faithful in your current season. You don't wait for your soulmate to start becoming the person you're meant to be. You grow now. You serve now. You pursue purpose now. God will bless movement, not just desire. If you want a partner who's walking in purpose, make sure you're doing the same. God's. If you want someone healed and whole, make sure you're on your own healing journey too. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you are. So be intentional, be excellent, be obedient. Because the same God who sees your longing also sees your preparation. This process isn't always easy. There will be lonely nights, moments of doubt, times when you question if God has forgotten you. But in those moments, He's closest. He's reminding you that love isn't a finish line. It's a sacred assignment. And only those who are willing to be prepared will be trusted to carry it well. So when it feels hard, lean into Him more. When it feels delayed, trust Him deeper. He's not just writing a love story. He's writing a redemption story. And you are both the protagonist and the student in that journey. The more you allow Him to shape you, the more clearly you'll see that every delay had a purpose, every lesson had meaning, and every trial was setting the stage for the kind of love that's worth waiting for. God often speaks in whispers, not shouts. And when it comes to matters of the heart, especially something as sacred as your soulmate, He speaks through subtle signs, quiet nudges, and deep impressions in your spirit. These hidden messages aren't meant to be cryptic or confusing. They're designed to draw you closer to Him, God's. Because before you can truly recognize the one He's sending into your life, you have to be in tune with the one who's sending them. His guidance doesn't always come in dramatic fashion. Sometimes it's a scripture that stands out differently. Sometimes it's a conversation that stirs something in your soul. Sometimes it's a persistent peace or a lack thereof. And if you're not paying attention, you might miss it, not because He's silent, but because you're too distracted to hear. God's messages about your soulmate are often wrapped in moments you didn't expect to be divine. You'll be walking through a normal day, and something will stop you, a thought, a feeling, a name, not loud but undeniable. That's Him. He doesn't always drop people into your life with fireworks. Sometimes He introduces your soulmate through a process that requires discernment. He doesn't want you to rely on emotions alone. He wants you to rely on Him. So He teaches you how to slow down, how to listen with your spirit, how to observe with your heart. The more you listen to Him daily, the more you start to recognize when He's saying, pay attention. This person matters. Sometimes the message isn't about who your soulmate is. It's about who your soulmate isn't. God will remove people from your life, not to hurt you, but to protect you. And in that removal, He's speaking. He's showing you what doesn't align with your calling. He's revealing red flags you tried to ignore. God's. He's stripping away illusions so that you don't get stuck in a relationship that feels good but drains your spirit. God's. If you're praying for clarity and someone exits your life, that is your clarity. If someone's presence disrupts your peace, that's a sign. God doesn't send confusion, He sends confirmation. And when He's in something, there's a stillness, a knowing, a sense that even if it doesn't make logical sense, it aligns with your spirit. God will also speak through your restlessness. You might be in a relationship that looks right on paper, but something inside you won't settle. That's not fear. That's the Holy Spirit stirring you. He's not trying to rob you of love. He's trying to redirect you to the love He designed for you. When it's not the right person, you'll find yourself constantly questioning, striving, explaining, compromising. When it's the one God has for you, there's ease. Not perfection, but alignment. And if you ignore the discontent just because you don't want to be alone, you'll miss the very person He's been trying to lead you to. Sometimes the message comes through dreams. God has always spoken in dreams. Ask Joseph, ask Daniel. If you're in tune with His voice, He can reveal names, places, even warnings through your sleep. But dreams aren't always literal. They often require interpretation, patience, and prayer. You don't chase the dream. You bring it back to God. You ask, is this you, Lord? Or is this my desire trying to speak louder than your direction? That humility creates space for true clarity. He will never lead you with confusion. He will always confirm his word, often through multiple channels, scripture, wise counsel, inner peace, or even obstacles that reroute you away from what isn't meant for you. God can also use your growth as a message. If you're becoming more like Christ, more whole, more purpose, driven, more spiritually sensitive, that's not just for your benefit. It's preparation for someone he's sending. The message is in the mirror. The person he's preparing for you will be drawn to the healed version of you, not the broken version still stuck in past cycles. So when you start to feel a pull toward better, deeper, more honest living, that's God speaking. He's saying, get ready. The connection I'm bringing won't settle for the old you. That doesn't mean you become someone else to be loved. It means you return to your truest self so that love finds you in your most authentic form. Sometimes God uses silence as a message. You've prayed, you've waited, you've asked for signs, and all you hear is quiet. That doesn't mean he's absent. It means he's watching your trusts. Will you still follow him when the path isn't lit? Will you still believe in his timing when nothing seems to be moving? Silence isn't rejection. It's often preparation. In the silence, he builds your faith. In the silence, he teaches you how to lean not on your own understandings. And when the time is right, when your heart is positioned, when your spirit is still enough to hear, the message becomes clear. Sometimes the clearest direction comes after the longest silence. God might also speak through divine interruptions. You're headed one way, and something or someone unexpected shifts your path. That's not always coincidence. That might be a heavenly course correction. You were so sure you knew the plan, but God redirected it. You lost a job. You moved cities. You joined a new community. And in that unexpected place, you met someone who changed your life. That's the kind of message only time can fully reveal. God moves in patterns, not just moments. And when you trace back the steps, you'll see his fingerprints on every interruption you thought was a setback. God speaks through purpose. If you've found someone who ignites your purpose, challenges your faith, calls out your gifts, and walks in alignment with your mission, that's not accidental. That's a sign. Love isn't just about compatibility, it's about calling. And when your purpose and their purpose start to converge, when you both push each other closer to God instead of pulling each other away from him, that's sacred. That's divine design. That's the kind of message God sends not just through words, but through impact. Their presence in your life elevates your walk with him. That's how you know it's more than romance. It's revelation. God may also send confirmations through others. A friend might say something they didn't realize was prophetic. A sermon might hit you so hard it feels like it was written just for you. A stranger might drop a word that pierces your soul. Don't brush those off. Sometimes God uses vessels to deliver what your heart needs to hear. When it's truly from him, it'll be consistent with his character, rooted in truth, and confirmed over time. Pay attention, journal it, pray over it, test the spirit behind it. Because when it's a divine message, it will bear fruit, not just feelings. He often speaks when you least expect it, while you're walking, while you're worshiping, while you're sitting quietly on a random Tuesday. It's not always in the fire or the earthquake or the wind. Sometimes it's in the still small voice. And when your heart is tuned in, when you're walking closely with him, you start recognizing those messages not as random, God's, but as road signs guiding you towards something eternal. That's why your relationship with God has to come first. Because without it, you'll chase signs instead of listening to the source. You'll mistake emotional highs for divine whispers. But when you know him, really know him, his voice becomes unmistakable and his messages become anchors in the midst of uncertainty. And so, when you look at everything God is doing in your life, when you take a step back from the chaos, the waiting, the broken hearts, the questions, you begin to realize that nothing is wasted. Every delay has purpose. Every disappointment was a redirection. Every lonely season was filled with lessons wrapped in silence. Every encounter was either a mirror or a window. God has been speaking all along, not just about love, not just about your soulmate, but about you. About the kind of person you're becoming, the kind of love you're learning to give, the depth of faith you're growing into, and the sacred trust that's being developed within you. When God wants to send you something holy, He doesn't just prepare the gift. He prepares the receiver. You've been asking for signs, but the truth is, the biggest sign is your own transformation. The greatest confirmation is the change in your spirit, the peace that comes not from having all the answers, but from knowing the one who holds them. Your healing is a sign. Your maturity is a sign. Your hunger for truth, your refusal to settle, God's. Your deepening awareness that there's something more than just attraction. That's all evidence that God is preparing you for something deeper. He's not just trying to give you a person. He's trying to build a legacy through your love. A love that reflects His character. A love that serves, that uplifts, that protects, that perseveres. A love that's anchored in heaven, not driven by fear, fantasy, or flesh. There's no formula to this journey. No 3 steps to discovering your soulmate. It's not about playing games or forcing connections. It's about surrender. Surrendering your idea of timing. Surrendering the illusion of control. Surrendering the fear that maybe you're too broken, too late, too much, or not enough. Surrendering to the truth that God writes better stories than you could ever dream of. Because while you're waiting, He's working. While you're praying, He's aligning. While you're wondering if anyone sees you, He's choosing someone who will see you the way He does, with honor, with reverence, with awe. But you've got to be open. Not just open to romance, but open to growth, open to healing, open to walking away from what's good so you can receive what's God. Some of the hardest decisions will be letting go of almost relationships, those connections that feel close, but not quite right. You'll feel tempted to settle just to fill the silence. But God's best doesn't come through convenience. It comes through conviction. You'll know it when your spirit rests. You'll know it when you don't have to pretend, shrink, or explain your worth. You'll know it when love feels like freedom, not anxiety dressed as passion. So don't rush the process. Don't force doors that God has closed. Don't lose faith because someone didn't choose you. Rejection isn't the end of your story. It's a redirection towards something more aligned, more authentic, more anointed. Trust that if God has placed the desire in your heart, He also has the fulfillment already written into your future. God's. But timing isn't just about clocks. It's about capacity. And He loves you too much to give you something you're not ready to carry. He's building you piece by piece, layer by layer, so that when your soulmate arrives, you don't just receive them. You recognize them. Because your spirit will already be familiar with what your eyes are seeing. And when that moment comes, and it will come, not only will you thank God for them, but you'll thank Him for the wait. You'll thank Him for every tear that watered the soil of your faith. You'll thank Him for every closed door that preserved your heart. You'll thank Him for every lonely night that brought you closer to His voice. Because you'll realize that the blessing isn't just the person. The blessing is who you became in the process of trusting God to bring them. The blessing is knowing that you didn't settle for crumbs when God had a feast. The blessing is seeing His faithfulness made manifest in flesh and spirit, standing before you hand in hand, ready to walk into destiny together. So if you're still waiting, keep your heart open and your spirit grounded. Keep doing the inner work. Keep listening to His whispers. Keep following the peace, even when it leads you into seasons of isolation. Because those seasons are sacred. They're not empty. They're intimate. That's where God hides His most powerful revelations. That's where He restores what the world tried to break. That's where He speaks clearly, lovingly, consistently about who you are and what He's preparing for you. And when you stop looking for loud signs and start leaning into stillness, You'll begin to hear the truth that was always there, that you are not forgotten, not overlooked, not passed by. Your soulmate is not a prize you earn through perfection. They're a person on their own journey, guided by the same hand that's guiding you. And when time is right, God will cross your paths in a way that only He could orchestrate. It won't be forced. It won't be confusing. It won't require compromising your values or your peace. It will feel like clarity. It will feel like home. Not because the person is flawless, but because God has aligned your hearts, your paths, and your purposes. So don't grow weary. Don't settle for what's convenient when you're called to something divine. Keep walking. Keep growing. Keep praying. Keep believing. Because the message has never changed. He's been saying it from the very beginning. I know the plans I have for you. Plans to prosper you, not to harm you. Plans to give you a future and a hope. That includes your love story. That includes your heart. That includes your soulmate. And in the fullness of time, when preparation meets promise, you'll step into something so beautiful, so divine, that you'll realize God wasn't just writing a love story. He was writing a testimony, one worth waiting for, one worth trusting for, one worth giving your whole heart to. Amen.